Hello! So I am super unprepared, but today we're going to be building my June TBR, working out what books I'm going to read for June. Recently I haven't actually been making TBRs because I got sick. But before that, this year I have been kind of working through my reading goals as I build my TBR. So I've got 5 reading goals. The first of which is TBR 0. And to pick the books off my TBR, which is not that many books now, I've been using this website I made called the TBR Machine, which spits out random reading prompts. So we're going to pick 3 books off my TBR using that to begin with. So let's pick our first prompt. Read a second-hand book. Do you know that almost all of my TBR is secondhand books because I like to buy books cheap. The only problem with this is it is kind of hard because it gives me too much choice. And what I like about the TBR machine is it makes my choices easier. And I could get rid of all the broad prompts, except that sometimes when I want to try and fit a particular book in, it can be good to have broad prompts. Anyway, let me pick one. Let me think. Wow, I have a lot of chunky fantasy books on here. Okay, so you know what? Because I want to be kind to myself after being sick for a bit, I'm going to pick a book that was actually on my March TBR, but I never got to it, and that is Ballad by Maggie Stiefvater. I really like Maggie Stiefvater, and I think this is one of her first books, although this is the second book in the series. I already read the first one. It's somewhere behind me. I don't know where. But after the second one, she never wrote the third book in the trilogy because there was just so much time between the second book and when she would have written the third book. And her writing style has changed so much that she didn't really know how it would make sense to continue because she would write this whole story completely differently now. But regardless, I really like Maggie Stiefvater, so I've kind of been trying to read everything. I stumbled upon these at a secondhand shop, so this is the first book I'm going to put on my TBR. It is kind of like a dark fairy story, except that it's also kind of a little bit like Twilight. Like, we've got this dangerous fairy and this girl who's really involved in music falling in love with him in the first book. But the second book I actually think is from the perspective of the girl's best friend, who is a guy that was actually in love with her but got turned down because of this darn fairy. But it seems like he's going to get involved in the fairy world as well. So I'm going to read that. Let us pick the next prompt. Read a book with magic in the title. Let's see if I can find one. There ain't many choices here. Okay, there's no choice. I'm just going to have to read this one, and that is Libromancer by Jim C. Hines. But it does say in tiny little letters here, Magic Ex Libri, Book 1. Maybe it's Libris, maybe it's Latin, I don't know. This is a book about some kind of librarian who also does magic and like protects people, I think. Some kind of book magic. I don't know. I have heard that this can be a little bit sexist, which given I was recently reading the Harry Dresden series and having that same problem, I'm not sure I really want to try it right now, but I guess we're going to. Okay, last prompt. Read a book released in 2018. I think it's very unlikely that I will have anything on my TBR cart that matches that, but I'll have a look. 2014. 2018! I did it! Okay, so this is a book that I actually had on my April TBR. I carried it over into May, and I still don't think I'm going to get to it. There's a few more days left of May, but like, let's be honest with ourselves. I'm not going to read it. And that is Someone Like Me by M.R. Carey. I don't really know much about this, but I did really like The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey, and I have heard generally good things about him as an author. I think this one's a bit of a thriller with a girl whose alter ego sometimes takes control and is quite dangerous. I don't know, but I'm gonna actually get to this in June. I'm gonna try really hard to actually read my physical books in June because I've been putting that off for a while, and if I really want to achieve TBR 0, I need to like actually read the books off my TBR. I know, crazy. Okay, so then my next goal is series 0, so I'd also like to have no series in progress. This is 100% unachievable, but I just put it as a goal for fun, and I'm trying to at least bring that list down a lot. So let's think about what series I can continue this month. Firstly, reading this will finish a series off, so that's a win. As well, I do have all of these graphic novels from the library, so 11, 12, 13, and 14 of Giant Days. This is just a graphic novel series all about these girls who go to university. I read a significant amount of the series over the last couple of months and I want to finish it off. I'm pretty sure this is the end. You can kind of tell by the way that they're graduating. I'm going to be really sad to see these girls go because I just really like hanging out with them. And I'm really hoping that my ship will last. But that's another series I should be able to complete in June. Let's check my audiobooks. Okay, so firstly I've got Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence. It's the third book in the Book of the Ancestors. I read the first two also in the last couple of months. I probably shouldn't have started the series. It was a new book in a series. However, the first book in the series was on my physical TBR, so anyway, I started it and I can probably finish it in June. It's a series all about this girl named Nonna who has these magical abilities and also kind of violent tendencies. She ends up being sent off to assassin school where there's all sorts of political intrigue and really crazy magic and also like a science fiction aspect to it. I don't really like the stuff at the school, but I did enjoy the stuff that was out of the school, and I'm really hoping that in the third book we won't hardly spend any time at school. That's what I'm hoping. I do also have A Tangle of Spells by Michelle Harrison, so that's a middle grade book, and I believe that's also the last book in a series. It's a magical middle grade book about these girls who find out that their family kind of has these different magical powers, but they also live on this island where there's a prison and they can't leave. The second book had pirates. I don't really remember that much about it anymore, but I do remember that I enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to reading the last book. And like, I think it's fine that I don't remember much about the first two. It's kind of just a light-hearted fun read, which sometimes you need. And then I do also have the fourth book in the Harry Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. If you've watched my videos before, you might know that I find Harry Dresden to be really sexist and annoying, but I'm really hoping that the series will improve as I go along, so I'm just pushing through for a little bit. I do kind of like the general idea, I just really don't like the main character. Basically, Harry Dresden is a wizard and he solves all these paranormal crimes. He's kind of got like this psychological trauma that causes him to want to save everybody, which sometimes gets really annoying. But like, maybe it's good characterization? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to continue that. As well, I think I have some audiobooks in Audible. Yes, I've got Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is the sequel to The Lies of Locke Lamora, which is somewhere here. I'm halfway through rearranging these shelves. They're not in a final state, and I don't know where anything is, so that's fun. Normally I can just point behind me and know exactly where my books are, but not at the moment. So The Lies of Locke Lamora is about this guy named Locke Lamora who is an amazing thief. He has this little gang of thieves that he works with and they're trying to pull off this really amazing heist. When things go kind of horribly wrong, I didn't necessarily love it, but I did think there was a lot about it to like. And as well, there's hints in the first book of this love interest and I really want some more of her. So I'm hoping the second book will do it. I kind of remember that someone told me it does, but I might have made that memory up. And then finally I have The Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter, so that's the sequel to The Rage of Dragons. Now The Rage of Dragons is about this guy named Tao who, what is he even trying to do? Get revenge on a family member being killed. But also his people are kind of oppressed. Oh, there's like a caste system within their race and they're also having a war with these other people. So Tao joins the army to try and get revenge but ends up getting pulled into the rest of the drama. Now, I thought that the Queen and Tao's girlfriend were really interesting characters and I really would have liked their story instead of Tao's. He kind of does some interesting stuff, but honestly it was a bit repetitive and I'm just generally not a fan of revenge plots is what I'm discovering. But what happened at the very end of The Rage of Dragons made me think that the next book will give us more of his girlfriend and the Queen, so fingers crossed for that. And that's like a million series that I'm making progress with, so I think that's pretty good. Okay, so my next goal was to read more diversely, and I had a couple of things on this, pretty low bar goals, but I'm just trying to make a slight improvement compared to last year. So firstly, I wanted to read one Maori or Pacific author every 2 months. What month is it? June. So by the end of June, I should have read 3. Check my spreadsheet, I've only read 2, so I need to read 1 more. I did actually have on my April and May TBR, The Liminal Space Oh, it's too shiny for you to see, by Jackie McRae. So this is a Maori author, and it's about these people that kind of come together in this town, and they're all kind of outcast, and they find some kind of solace with each other. But I also think some of the characters are a bit strange, and maybe even it hints at some magical realism. I'm not sure, but honestly, it's so beautiful. That's the main reason I bought it, I admit. Although it kind of sounded interesting too. Look, it's beautiful on the back too. Anyway, I think I'm going to count this so that I can keep up with that. And I have a couple more on my TBR, but I probably need to go and do some research to find some more. Okay, as well, I wanted to try and be reading above 70% white authors. Normally I would look at my graphs, but to be completely honest, my graphs are a bit out of date. So I need to catch up on that. I was doing okay on it though. Every time I read another Giant Day volume, it puts me further behind. But I think I was doing okay. If Editing Me has managed to update the spreadsheet, maybe she'll put the graph here and we can say hooray, or maybe I need to make some adjustments. And the last part of the diversity goal is that I wanted to read at least one non-binary author this year. Wow, such a low bar goal. But I set it just really low bar because in 2020 I only read one non-binary author, like multiple works by them, but only one author. This year, however, already I've read Sarah Gailey and Nino Supri, who I think are both non-binary. And I do also have right by my bed at the moment a Matka, whose author I cannot remember, but I believe they're non-binary as well. So doing a lot better at this one. Okay, the next goal is to read less fantasy. The main reason though that I wanted to read less fantasy was so that I could read more science fiction and more thrillers and horrors. Unfortunately, I've been reading a lot less fantasy than I ever meant to, and I'm not reading more of the things I want to. I'm reading more contemporary, which is really bizarre because I don't normally read much contemporary at all. One of the culprits is Giant Days, again ruining my stats, but I have read a few other contemporaries as well, and to be honest, I've liked them. So is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, but I would still like to read more science fiction and more horrors and thrillers. This is a thriller, but I think pretty much everything else on my list is contemporary or fantasy, so this goal I'm completely off track on, and I guess I'll try and fix it in July. Because I'm not bothering about it right now. There's already too many books here because I want to be kind to myself in June. And then my last reading goal was that I wanted to get my average rating up. In 2020 my average rating was 3.24. I just want to be reading more books that I loved, so I thought this goal might help me do it. And currently my average rating is 3.42. However, I do think it's come down in the last couple of months despite having read some amazing 5-star books. But I've also taken some risks on some books, and they haven't paid off. It's so hard because I want to take risks with books because sometimes books can really surprise you. And like that's part of reading diversely, is trying things that you wouldn't necessarily try normally. But it doesn't always work out. So that's a shame, but also I'm still winning. I'm up at 3.42. That's higher than 3.24. So I'm winning at that goal. Let's just say we're winning. Okay, so this is going to be my TBR for June. Honestly, I'm not feeling that confident about it. I will probably deprioritize this if I have to deprioritize anything. Hopefully I can get through these other ones because I would really like to. Which does make me question, should I even read this? If you've read this series, should I even read it? It's starting a new series as well. It just seems like a terrible idea. Maybe I could find the audiobook of this. Ooh, maybe I'll try that. Anyway. These books, plus I think like 6 audiobooks. I think maybe it's achievable. Maybe. Maybe not. Anyway, do let me know if you have read any of those books and whether you think I'm going to like them. And check back in at the end of the month for my wrap-up. I know I'm a bit behind on wrap-ups at the moment, but I'm catching up. And I would love to talk with you down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.